Welcome to the Body Bag Podcast. We are your hosts, Dave Hornig.
And I'm Chris Thomas. How's it going?
Today we are discussing the Fear Street Trilogy.
This is the first of the, well, will hopefully be many of the Body Bag podcasts where we discuss the movie of the week. Well, in this case, the trilogy for this week. And I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I'm excited too. We're being ambitious for the first episode, doing 3 movies in one, so hope you guys enjoy the little extra content this week.
Right off the bat, spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen the Fear Street Trilogy. We're going to get into a lot of the spoiler bits of the movie, so go watch it first and then come back. Or don't. You can listen if you want.
Yeah. But yes, there's definitely going to be a lot of spoilers in here.
Alright, so the first one is 1994. Let's just jump right into it.
Yeah, let's jump into it.
Oh my god, the cheese of this movie, of this series just in general.
Oh man,
at certain points I couldn't tell if it was painful or if it was genius. As much cheese as was in this movie.
Right? Like they tried to pay homage to Scream in the first one, and then
which
very 90s.
That's, I think you and me were talking about this before we started recording, but the soundtrack in this movie will let you know that this movie takes place in 1994.
Yes, definitely.
I think at one point there was the scene where Dina was going onto the bus and it went straight from Insane in the Membrane right into Creep when she put on her headphones.
Oh man. That was insane in the membrane that they did that.
I was born in 1991, and I heard more 90s music in this episode, 1994, than I did the entirety growing up in the 90s. It was. I appreciated it. I mean,
right? I mean, nothing wrong with a little Cypress Hill to get the movie started.
I will say this. Because at the very beginning, like within the first 10 minutes, I kind of was like, all right, it's going to be one of these kind of movies where it's going to have tropes galore. Yeah. I was like, all right, this would make a good drinking game. Like, drink every time you see like a classic or corny like slasher movie trope, but don't do that because you will be plastered by 30 minutes into this movie.
Right? I mean, in the first scene, they Casey Beckard Heather, who was played by Maya Hawke, who you thought was going to be the main person of this movie, killed her off.
Which you just kind of like made one of my points, because in these podcasts that we're doing, we're going to go over our favorite kill each. We won't go over every single one of them, but
yeah. Do
you want to do a highlight of each movie or your main one for the entire trilogy?
I was going to do main kill for the entire trilogy. But my favorite kill is in the first part, anyways.
Because I chose like one for 1994 and one for 78 and one for 1666. And the first one was definitely for me the Heather kill, just because it was so much like Scream. I keep saying that she got Drew Barrymore'd just because you think that even the way he stabs her, just, I mean. Let's be real. The guy was basically Ghostface. I tried to do a mini podcast.
It was
where
screen. You could do a screen-by-screen comparison of the 2 kills from Scream, and it was almost identical.
I tried to make. I still might do a little mini podcast where I just clumsily explain the plot of movies, and I went back and listened to it, and I kept referring to that dude as Ghostface, but they kept calling it's Skull Mask Killer, but I kept calling him Ghostface, but he was Ghostface.
Yeah, and another thing is like Drew Barrymore was the biggest name in Scream, and Maya Hawke is kind of the biggest name in this movie because a lot of other actors and actresses I didn't know. Was Heather like a character like in 78 and 1666? No, she didn't play it.
She didn't get a second role?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, Fun fact though, Maya Hawke is the daughter of Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke.
Was that her? Because I thought she looked familiar. She was in Stranger Things.
Yes, she's from Stranger
That
Things.
that was the same. That was the same actress.
Yeah,
I knew she looked familiar.
yeah.
I knew I'd seen her in something. I was like, she kind of looks like someone I just saw before. Yeah, Stranger Things.
Right.
Oh,
And like no one else in this movie, I was like, I don't know who any of these people are.
Oh, I need to say this. The way that this movie, how gory it was, this is what I wanted scary movies to tell in the dark to be. I don't know if you've seen that movie, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
I've wanted to see that for a while. I just haven't had a chance to watch it.
Because if you were like me and grew up with those books, Scary Stories to Tell,
I love that book. I love those books.
Because this, the Fear Street trilogy was based off R.L. Stine.
Another thing, if you notice in the bookstore, all the books she was putting up were the actual Fear Street books, but instead of saying R.L. Stine for the author, it put his first two name, Robert Lawrence, on there.
I did not notice that. I have to go back and rewatch this. But this is what, because Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, if you know anything about the artwork in that book, it's very wet and gory itself.
That's great.
And
growing up with those,
when they made the PG-13 version, I was like, all right. I don't know if I have well, seeing it now, I have a problem with it being PG-13, but this Fear Street is kind of what I wanted Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark to be. So I've seen both, and I would say that alone, I prefer the Fear Street trilogy over the over Scary Stories, just for the movie. I prefer the Scary Stories books, but the Fear Street movies. And
because they did not care. They used all the gore in this movie.
More R-rated R.L. Stine property, please, Netflix, get on that.
Yes, I'm down for it.
I want to see
make a
Horrorland.
Netflix miniseries of all the killers from this movie actually, going through it. Like, I'd like to see Ruby Lane slaughter her friends.
Give me Horrorland. Give me the mask that would stick to people's faces. Give me the killer dummies and everything like that.
Oh, Give us R-rated Goosebumps.
Jack Black can stay at home.
Yeah.
And I saw the Goosebumps movie, and for a kiddie movie, that's fine, but more R-rated R.L. Stine, please.
Yes.
But all right, so just as a standalone movie, like 1994, let's because we got a couple of we're going into this, and then we're going straight into 78 and 1666. Yeah. We went over the first death. Is there anything? Okay. Oh well, this what I'm about to say. Same for 1666 and 78. This Shady Vale or Shady Side.
Shady Side, yeah.
Shady Side. They must. Oh, I think I've seen maybe. I think there are only 2 police officers that work in this entire town, and
I think they're both from Sunnyvale. They're from the good part of town.
Well, yes, Nick Good was, I know, but there's only 2 cops in this entire thing, and absolutely no adults, to the point where it's apparently easy enough for teenagers to have just sex wherever they want to, just popping pills wherever they want, and able to steal an ambulance and shoot a potentially just, if we didn't know now that was a zombie, who was the chick with the knife who would sing?
Ruby Lane.
Ruby Lane.
Yeah.
Like, that could have just been a random person in the street, but when she was like attacking Simon, and then Dina comes and shoots her in the head, and no police officers are enough to the point where Simon can take a piss on the side of the police building,
and nothing happens.
And nothing happens, and nobody sees it. I mean, I'm kind of love it. I kind of in love with that. There's no adults except for Sam's mom at the end when she was giving Dina dirty looks and whatnot.
Right. You would think a town with Shady Side's history would have more cops.
Nope, just 2.
Yeah, when you have a history of serial killers, like, I think the government should probably invest in law enforcement a little bit more.
Just 2, things will sort itself out.
Right.
The teens will figure it out.
Yeah, the teenagers they got this.
I'm trying to think. Because that was definitely something that, like, every time I questioned like how did the kids get away with this, or how did the kids manage to get this or get their hands on this? I just remind myself,
Right.
it's because it's run down, wrong side of the tracks, shady Vale. It's a lawless town apparently.
Like the scene when they're in the bathroom and, you know, Simon pulls out the drugs. Kate's like talking about how valedictorian and class president, and then she walks out of the bathroom with a box full of drugs.
Box full of drugs, and
I was like, that's ballsy.
Speaking of drugs, you know, they had to kill Sam briefly at the end of the 1994. If the overdose on pills didn't kill her, I'm fairly certain that stabbing her in the chest with 8 to 10 EpiPens would have probably done something. I'm
pretty sure that would explode her heart. Like,
yes, I'm fairly certain if the pills didn't kill her, the EpiPens, 10 of them would have.
Jeez, man.
All right, so, well, you're doing a kill for the entire trilogy, and I'm doing one per. Was your kill for the entire trilogy in 94, 78, or 60?
Yeah, well, I'll do one for each movie like you. I would say the one for 94, and which is also coincidentally for the entire trilogy, is when they're in the supermarket and fucking Kate gets her head smashed through a meat grinder.
That would have been my second pick, but just because of the callback to Scream.
Callback to Scream, yeah.
That's why Heather was mine.
Yeah, I get it. I just thought, you know, cinematically that one just was glorious and it looked pretty cool. Because you see her face come through with all like the line marks coming. Yeah.
I think I think I've covered about everything I wanted to talk about in 94. If you want to go ahead and move to 78.
I mean, well,
unless you got some more stuff, go ahead.
I mean, it's just kind of. I like how they have like the whole, town dynamic, which is also kind of like a class dynamic thing. You got rich people on one side, poor people on the other.
Mm-hmm.
Poor people are bad.
They were truly the Capulets and the Montagues of wherever this is supposed to be taking place.
Absolutely.
To the point where if somebody from Sunnyvale fraternizes with a dirty, shady Valian, it's very scandalous.
Yeah, and same thing in 74 too. Like, you definitely see it there too.
Yeah, that's why I was saying when Nick hooks up with Ziggy, which is a good segue.
It is. Let's go to 1974. My dad was like 14.
I think it's 78.
78. Oh, my dad would have just been turning like 18.
I think as much I would think that the 90s one would have been my favorite one, but I think my favorite one is 78.
I really did enjoy 78.
Out of those three, I enjoyed how much it was that it was just trying to be like Friday the 13th.
And sleepaway camp, and
to the point where Thomas ends up with a bag over his head, very much like
Jason. Oh, I love that part.
And again, this no adults, just teens taking care of even younger teens.
Yeah, I mean,
free to have sex in the cabins and hit on the underage people who they're supposed to be supervising, and doing drugs in the outhouses and whatnot.
Well, I never went to summer camp, but isn't it how summer camp is though? Like the counselors are like teenagers, and the campers are like up to like 12 years old.
I never went to camp in the 80s, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's an exact, representation for all I know. But
I mean, they did have one adult there, Nurse Lane.
Yes, possessed Nurse Lane.
Well, she wasn't possessed. She was
just crazy.
She was searching for like. She believed in the curse, and she was searching for everything, and she actually like found the room.
Yeah, but why did Nurse Lane try to kill Tommy Boy?
Because she saw his name in the stone.
Oh, is that why?
So she was trying to like save everybody. Stone, yeah,
I guess
that's the person who's gonna get possessed and try to kill everybody. Because she said she's like, one way or another, you're gonna die tonight. Either I'm gonna kill you, or you're
whoops.
gonna go on a killing spree and someone's gonna kill you.
Unlucky.
Right?
Hold on.
She was also the mother of Ruby Lane, a previous killer.
I did know that. I didn't know that much.
Yeah, that's why she was so obsessed with like trying to find out everything about Sarah
I need
Fear.
to go back and I need to have a checklist or play a game of slasher trope bingo just to make sure that all the boxes are ticked.
Yeah.
I think
Because she's kind of a callback to Jason's mom, like at the camp, trying to get revenge for her daughter, who, you know.
the only thing that was not like a typical 70s slasher movie is that the virgins in this case were not spared. Like everyone does. Like, you know how in a lot of movies, a lot of horror movies, there's child death in a lot of horror movies, but usually it's like a big deal or it's like built up in some way, but not in Fear Street. The children they're only children apparently in Sunnyvale, so they are killed with extreme prejudice.
Actually, if you notice, Tommy doesn't go after any of the Sunnyvale kids. All the kids he murders are Shady Siders.
Well, he did slice up Nick, but then again, Nick was pushing
Ziggy out of the way. Who he was going for? Yeah,
fair enough. So
there's one prejudice.
so I was about to say, so the serial killers are prejudiced. I didn't put that together, but
they only go after Shady Siders.
And is that specifically because of what happened in 1666?
I believe so, and I think it's because, because of who actually controls them is, a Sunnyvaler. Like, the only one who got killed was, in the first one, Peter, and that's just because he was in the way of them getting to Sam.
Wait, so, hey, hold on. You know how they were doing, like, a capture the flag thing?
In
78? Now, was that divvied up based on Sunnyvale's versus Shady Sides?
Yeah, all the Shady Siders were in blue, Sunnyvale was in red.
Because what's her name? The one who... No, she didn't. She got punched out by Ziggy.
Yeah.
Did Tommy leave her alone?
Yeah, Tommy just...
Oh, so she's just passed out in the outhouse while all that stuff was going down.
Yeah, he sliced off Gary's head, who's a Shady Sider, and then went after Ziggy.
Dirty, filthy, Shady Siders.
Right, and also when the one Shady Side counselor, actually a Sunnyvale guy, he only axed up the girl from Shady Side.
I'm sure that there's a message in there somewhere. There's some allegory in there.
Right.
But I'd have to say 78 was definitely... if I go back and watch it, 94 might be my favorite because I love the 90s cheese, but I don't know. I think it took me a little bit.
I love the soundtrack in 74, though.
I'll say I like the soundtrack better than 90s, but that one's just my own personal prejudice. Or bias towards the 90s.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just... This series made me want to watch other movies, actually. It put me in the mood.
Right.
It made me want to watch, the classics, but 78 made me think a lot of like Cabin in the Woods as well, that comedy.
I love that movie.
This series preps you to watch other movies. It makes you want to
really
just start binge watching like I wanted to watch Scream after the first one, and I wanted to watch Friday the 13th after the 78 version.
Right.
Did Special Kill in that one? I mean, everybody died pretty much by axe, getting chopped up by an axe. But which of your axe kills was your favorite?
I would have to go with Gary, dude. His head gets sliced off, and then he falls down in the toilet in the house and lands on the girl with a broken ankle.
Mine is definitely just because I remember watching this and I was writing some notes when what's her name? Was it Alice? Was Alice
short blonde hair girl?
Yeah. When she was giving her whole, hey, you need to let me, do this. I saw my dad die or something when I was like 5 years old and stuff like that. I was writing a separate note, being like, you know, it doesn't matter if a horde of like serial killers are coming after you. We still have a little bit of time for some emotional exposition,
right?
Which the movies love doing, just out of nowhere, just like, you know what? Let me tell you a little bit about my backstory for a second. Let's take a second. But I just love this, like, I'm going to do this, and then immediately Tommy just axes her down.
Right. It's like the writers forgot to give Alice backstory. Like, okay, we'll fit it in right before she dies.
No, I'm sure they did it on purpose to just be like, okay, yeah, let's build her up, and then nope.
So gone.
Just because it's cheesy, and I was actually complaining about a scene like that in something else. A movie I'm not going to give a spoiler for, but it's out in theaters now, where this character has this big speech, and then all of a sudden just dies. If you've seen a movie in the past week, it's one of the biggest movies that's out this week. You know what scene I'm talking about, for those who know. But so immediately, that one has to be mine, just because of like, you caught me off guard this time. You caught me while I was writing notes. I didn't see that she was obviously about to die.
Right? Oh, man.
All right. So I think that now, I don't know about you, but it brings us now to the least favorite in the trilogy for me.
Well, let's go over to how like 74 ended. Like,
okay.
They found out how to like break the curse is to reunite the hand with the body.
Now, I will say this: it did offer a twist that I did not see coming, in that Ziggy was the woman telling the story. Yeah,
I love that scene where they're both running, because they get to the witch's grave and realize she's not buried there.
Yeah.
So they're just trying to run away and like get murked, both of them, and somehow Ziggy survives.
Shyamalan, take notes. It's been a while since a movie gave me a good twist.
Right? Oh, yeah, and then that brings them back to like present day, where Dino's like, hey, we know where the body's at. Is the hand still over there by the hanging tree?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the part 3 takes place, is you got Dina and her brother getting the hand. And then they take it to the body, which is where, coincidentally, where they had the car accident part 1.
Uh-huh.
And Sam found the body, which started everything. So when she reunites them, she kind of has like a seizure. And it takes us back to 1666.
Oh God! Oh my God! Okay, thank you. Now that we're talking about 1666, this was the one I most wanted to talk about, just because it was like the hardest to sit through.
Yeah.
Any movie, we have the hindsight of living in 2021 right now, so whenever movies take place back in like ye old era, or like the ignorant like times of old, it just frustrates the ever loving hell out of me, just because I'm like, because only in like 1666, well, I can't just say only, but where a pastor in front of everybody, like caught red-handed, carved out the eyes of all the children of the town, murder them, and the entire town sees it for what it is, and immediately they see this and go, it wasn't the pastor's fault, it had to be a woman's fault, it had to be witchcraft. Had to be witchcraft. The pastor can't just be a crazy person. Obviously, it has to be some evil harlot who slept with the devil. And
funny thing is, though, it actually was witchcraft, but it just wasn't a woman doing it.
Wrong witch. Yeah. It was the lesbian witches. And which apparently, okay, if the flashback was anything to go by, apparently nobody really does leave Shady Vale, because everybody looks exactly the same.
Right? That's the one thing that bothered me. Like, I get that they're going back to 1666, and they're trying to make it time accurate.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I know why they did it.
Yeah, a lot of them were terrible, like doing like an old-timey accent.
I know,
like,
that was one of my notes that I wrote down. I said, everybody apparently is exactly the same, except for they have longer hair, dirtier nails, and speak in a wonky, what is it, Irish or British, some kind of like ye old,
like a faux British accent, like a peasant British accent.
I mean, I was trying to think, like, all right, if I was gonna be given like, hey, Chris, do a old timey British accent. Well, how do you do that? Well, you just enunciate the last syllable, the first syllable of the last word. So he was like, are you going to the cookout? Are you gonna have some of this wine? It was just like I was.
Wait, what were they saying? Was it like I
was getting
a beautiful night to enjoy the bounty of the land,
the fruit of the land.
Yeah, fruit of the land. I'm like,
I was getting a lot of what's that show? Handmaid's Tale. I was getting a lot of Handmaid's Tale vibes from that. If anybody's ever seen that, they have a.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. It's been on my watch list forever. I just haven't had to.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, unless you're into movies or shows that make you feel awful. But there's a phrase that they say in that show where they go under his eye, or they say like certain things. I was getting those vibes.
Yeah.
But movies like 1666, where it takes place in that era, always infuriate me just because I'm like, because it
kind of reminded me of The Witch, if you've seen that movie.
No, it made me think of The Village.
Okay.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah.
The Shyamalan Village movie. But side note before I forget, the series also really made me wish I lived in a town that had a local legend.
Right? Like, that's dope.
I know it's in the movie they're killing people and serial killers, but I don't know.
It'd be a cool thing to have, Yeah.
I like the idea of having a local legend of like, don't go in that house. It was haunted by the killer of something, whatever square, who killed their family with a axe or whatever. It doesn't have to be true. I just like having like a local legend story.
Yeah. Definitely agree on that one.
Makes me wish I lived in a small town.
But one thing I gotta say about Part 3 is, let's be thankful only half of it took place in 1666.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say I hate. I mean, I was actually looking forward to 1666, but then I remembered that it was in 1666, and then I was like, oh yeah. I was for some reason I had it in my mind that I was gonna enjoy that one the most, but then I realized, oh yeah, people are horrible now, but people were even worse back then.
They were terrible back then. But so what happens in 1666 is basically after like things start going bad and people accuse witchcraft and accepting the devil.
They completely ignore the pastor who killed a bunch of children, and immediately it had to be the lesbian witches because the
Sam and Dina. I don't know what Sam's name was in 1666, but
Sarah.
Dina was Sarah Fear.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah,
Sarah and somebody else, but yeah, because Sam's. I'm just gonna call them by their current day names, because Sam rejected Nick Good's advances.
Brother, yeah.
So he blames them for the witchcraft, and it was them that made the pastor kill people, and then they hung Dina or Sarah free.
Yeah. Well, Dina was one who found out it was Solomon Good, or Nick Good, that was actually doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So he basically cut off her hand and then said, "Hey, she's the one doing it."
It was
like, "Oh yeah, that's true."
It was in '78 that I realized that something was up with Nick Good, because in '94, when he came across the dead bodies at the hospital, I was like, this guy's taking this very well for some reason. He just came across a massacre at a hospital. He's kind of taking this like whatever. And then when and then when you see him in '78, I was like, oh, okay, so he was actually around for that massacre too.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, all right, so this guy, that's probably why, because he's seen massacres and stuff like that. Then it all makes a little bit more sense.
But the fact is, he was the one who he was actually like good in control of the massacre in '74. Because I don't know if you caught it, his father was already dead by the time they went to summer camp.
Yeah, because
so he had to be the one doing it. Yeah,
there was a conversation between one guy saying, "Oh, your dad would have been proud," and blah blah blah. So yeah, I kind of got the idea that his dad was dead. And I know and the curse passes on from generation to generation.
Yeah, to the firstborn son or whatever.
Yeah.
But after all that happens, it fast forwards back to '94.
Yep. But I don't have too much to talk about 1666 just because, I don't know, just it being in that time era, even going back to '94 just kind of put me in a mood of like, man, damn. It just, I don't know, just those kind of movies are a little bit hard to watch. Just getting, it did lighten back up when it went back to '94, but I was just like,
Yeah, it did have one of my favorite scenes, because once they decided, we need to kill Nick Good, they pull up to the guy's house who, little brother helped out earlier, and he was like, I didn't do anything, put his hands over his head, like...
You would think, how are they going to get away with killing a police officer? Well, when that police officer is like the only police officer in town, who's going to arrest you?
Yeah.
Because, again, no adults in this place.
Basically.
Except for maybe the janitor, and...
That was funny when they rolled up to the janitor's house, like, you want to kill Nick Good? He's like...
Kinda. The guy's been kind
let
of
me go grab my jacket.
He was willing to kill an officer just because the guy was being a douche.
Right, like he didn't know
that man
the whole
has
story,
killed, but that man is killed for a lot less, I'm sure.
Maybe. Yeah, but he was one of my favorite characters. Especially when he showed him Sammy, he's like, "Oh, cool. Possessed white girl tied up."
Mm-hmm. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And he's like, okay, so any advice of fighting these guys? Yeah, don't die.
Yeah, just don't die. I mean, my girlfriend who I lost my V card to is got her head through a meat slicer. So
yeah, like 30 minutes after.
I think just one more side thing for 1994. That scene when they're all in the right before they blow up the zombies and they're all in the
bathrooms cleaning themselves up and everything. Yeah.
And they all just had the obligatory sex scene with each other. I think that's when I fell in love with this movie, because at least with 1994, because I was like, at first I was like, are they about to have an obligatory sex? But then when they were showing that literally every single one of them were either rubbing one out or hooking up, I was like, all right, this movie is definitely self-aware of how ridiculous it is, and I kind of love it.
And then when they all came out, Simon's like, did you all go to Pound Town? Me too. I thought that was hilarious, dude.
I was like, all right, cause I can totally understand people not, because I've seen people on Facebook say that they hate this movie, and I can totally understand if you do, but if you put yourself in the right frame of mind and just be like, this series knows exactly how ridiculous it is and it knows what it's doing, and if you could just appreciate that, then you will just get in the right frame of mind for this movie.
It's great.
Then this movie is kind of brilliant and kind of awesome.
Kind of like Cabin in the Woods.
Yes, it's very aware of how tropey and cheesy it is, and it's just like, you know what? We're just gonna go all in on it. We're just
all in on red, baby. Let's go.
I don't care. So what? So I when I got into that frame, I was like, you know what? This series is kind of awesome.
Yeah. And that leads into the final mall scene where they come up with the plan to try to kill Nick Good.
Yep.
Obviously, it doesn't work, which leads into an obligatory chase scene between Dina and Sheriff Good. Mm-hmm. And eventually, she ends up. I think she stabbed him, right, at the end.
Is it that she stabbed him?
Yeah, I think that was the final kill. Yeah, she kills him. And they come up through, because they're back in the caves again. She comes up to where the mess hall of the old camp used to be, which is actually now Sheriff Good's house, it looked like.
Dun dun dun.
And it was super fucking nice. It was all white, pristine. Mm-hmm. They come out of the house looking all dragged and dirty. And there's Mayor Good, Nick Good's brother, driving on the parking lot, just kind of staring at him. And he gets obliterated by a garbage truck.
Yes.
There goes all the good luck for the Goods.
And that other than the quote unquote happy ending, Dean and Sam like have a little what was it, a picnic right out next to the grave?
Yeah.
Which
and then,
I don't know if I'd ever I wouldn't risk it, but
no.
Sure, why not?
Right. Josh finally meets the girl he was chatting with online.
Yeah, Mistress of Evil or something like that, wasn't her name?
Oh, I actually have a note of what it was because it's super ridiculous.
It was like Mistress of Evil or something.
No, Queen of Air and Darkness.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And his screen name was Horrible Silence, but instead of an S, he had an 8. I don't really get that.
I was waiting for the big reveal of who Queen of Darkness and Air was going to be. I thought it was going to be...
Yeah.
Oh, and it turns out that was the witch all along.
Right? Like, before Kate died, I thought eventually they'd reveal that it was actually Kate, and then...
But Kate...
Yeah, she died, yeah.
You mean... You were like, oh, you mean you're Queen of Air and Darkness? Oh,
yeah.
You're so-and-so? And then it's like, oh... That would have been...
Because she seemed like she knew a lot about the legend, too. Just not as in-depth as he was.
That'd have been cute.
Right? And then she gets her head smashed in.
And then she gets her head chopped up into, like, meat pie.
Yeah.
But all in all, I'd say... your kill for 1666.
Kill for 1666.
Mine's definitely... just because of... Like, it's when the pastor gets shanked in the
ribs with a pitchfork.
Because if you just explain that to somebody, like this eyeless pastor who killed and removed the eyes of a bunch of children gets shanked with a pitchfork, that's just say that just makes me smile.
And as he's getting shanked, he's wildly swinging his little hook they took eyes out with.
I just love that imagery of just this eyeless pastor with a eye gouger just chasing down somebody. Just looks so cool to me.
Right.
And then just out of nowhere just gets killed with a pitchfork.
Jesus, right. Yeah, I agree. That was my favorite kill as well. Just absolutely destroyed him.
But anyway, so this was our first podcast. This is the first of what will hopefully be many. Hopefully anybody will get a little bit of enjoyment about talking about this. So I'm just gonna say, tell us what you liked, tell us what you didn't, tell us what you would like us to talk about. Go to get more in depth to anybody who might be listening right now.
Exactly, and we're
just
you
four
can
guys.
Reach us on Instagram.
Yeah, we're just
Twitter.
Two dudes who literally came together because we like horror movies, and just said, you know what, let's just get together and start. We'll pick a movie of the week. And then we'll just get into it. And since it's getting closer to Halloween now, even more appropriate.
Exactly. So, Chris, do you want to tell them what next week's episode's going to be on?
Yeah. And I've watched this movie, but you said you haven't.
Yeah.
And I've seen this. I've seen a character from this get mentioned a lot in Facebook feeds and horror movie. People, he's gaining a lot of following, but we're gonna be watching the movie The Terrifier next, also on Netflix.
I am excited for that.
It's still trying to keep up with that trope of making clowns scary. So Terrifier, it's relatively new. I think it came out last year. It was either this year or last year. I want to say that it came out, and it's just gonna be one movie. So it's not going to be. So the next podcast will not be as long, and I'm actually working on a little something that I'm going to be trying to drop before these podcasts, where I watch a movie and then straight away, as soon as I watch it, I just immediately try to explain what I just saw. So in case you, for some reason, don't want to watch the movie or don't have enough time, I will try to condense it into a small, like maybe 5 to 10 minute recap of what I just saw with no notes, no pre-planning, just get right into it. So it'll be as if like your ADHD friend just came up and trying to explain what they just saw to you. So be looking for that. I'll be trying to drop those before each podcast.
All right, and like I said, any updates, or if you just want to reach out to us, we're on Instagram at Bodybag Podcast, and we are on Twitter at Bodybag Pod.
And my side project of the recapping is going to be under Killer Cliff Notes, so that'll be coming soon.
Yes. All right. Well, everybody have a great week and happy